Welcome to Build a Weight Loss Practice of Your Dreams. I'm your host, Karol Clark, and do you find yourself sometimes idea rich but implementation poor? You come up with all these great things that you want to take care of and implement and do in your practice, but yet somehow they just never get done, and your team kind of goes crazy about the fact that you're always coming up with new ideas, but yet you're not really seeing progress moving forward on those ideas. If that's the case, you're not alone. It's very common with business owners. It's very common with anyone in leadership position. We always have these new great ways of ideas of how we can do things better, but it really is hard because you get caught up with the day-to-day business of taking care of patients, which is your primary responsibility, taking care of your business, and yet sometimes these projects that you know would be awesome and really would enhance your practice just never really get implemented, whether it's a revamp of your website, whether it's adding in an online program, whether it is, writing that book that you've always wanted to write and share with people, updating your patient education materials, adding retail sales into your practice, adding cash pay surgery into your practice, updating your marketing, all these different things that we want to do, changing out software, but yet it's so hard because you've got to do the implementation side of it in order to make it effective. So one of the things that is really important is that as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as leaders in your practice, or as anyone with any role in your practice, any leadership role, you've got to learn how to delegate a little bit. But sometimes it's hard because you're not sure who can I trust to delegate to. And sometimes we can turn perfectionism, because we think that we will do it the best. We turn perfectionism into a disguise. We disguise really our procrastination at making it happen. Or sometimes you can get overwhelmed with so many different options that you kind of get analysis paralysis, or so to speak. But we take our own sense of perfection, and like I say, it turns into procrastination or analysis paralysis, or we just don't think we can delegate it to anybody because they're not going to do it as great as you do, or you just don't have the time, and that's really the reason why it's not happening. So what do we do about that? It is going to involve a little bit of delegation. It has to be to someone that you can trust. You can still have a say in it, but you will find if you involve others, particularly those that have experience in that area, you can come up with a great outcome. I do this all the time with practices. They want to do something and they haven't been able to implement, and they're getting totally frustrated. And so they'll reach out to me and I will create a blueprint with a set, here's everything to do. A lot of times the physicians get so comfortable that I just work with their teams. We make it all happen and I report back to them, or the team reports back to them as well. And it works out as a beautiful thing, but you just have to have somebody, and many of you have people in your practice who would be perfect for this. So you end up having to delegate. So the first thing that you have to do when you're doing this, and it's hard, I know, is to know the desired outcome and communicate exactly what your outcome is very specifically to the person who's going to take charge of it, the person or persons. So they need to know exactly what it is that you want implemented, what you see it envisioning, what are the numbers looking like in terms of finances, in terms of the cost, that sort of thing. You have to set some parameters for them. What sort of a budget is out there for this particular project? What are your expectations for your return on your investment? Set those parameters, your budget, time, resources, what can be lent to that, and what your expectations are. Be very specific about that. The more specific you are about that, the better the outcome is likely going to be. Then you want to have the right person on board to help take this and develop a plan. Have them test out the waters, have them create a plan, and then review that. See if it makes sense to you, if it's something that you can, that you agree with and that meets the criteria that you've set forth. Having a set plan makes all the difference in the world. It doesn't mean that it's not going to modify over time, but when you see exactly what needs to get done, whose responsibility is, what the deadline is, it helps you really gain much more of a sense of control. You have more control, and they also have more guidance and control, and you don't have to babysit the project the whole time. So you want to make sure that you're very specific about that. And even though that takes time, if you delegate that to them to create and then you just tweak it, it actually doesn't end up taking up a lot of your time. Provide any necessary training that people may need. If I'm helping someone implement a new social media campaign and they want to do it themselves, I have to train them. I have to train them on exactly what to do. If they want to add retail sales, we have to get trained on how to do that. If they want me to build out their e-store, we go ahead and do that, but we also need to train them on how to make a sale and how to process the sale, all that sort of thing. So they can take on as much or little responsibility depending on what that looks like for your particular team. You also want to establish checkpoints. How often are you going to be meeting and checking back in? Is it just a once a week update? Anything like that? That tends to be very sufficient for purposes of when I'm working with different practices. You want to track progress and provide feedback. If there's something that it looks like it's going down a path that you're not really in total agreement with, then you need to be very verbal and upfront about that. And then you need to monitor that. It has a start and an end point. And I don't like any projects to take longer than 3 months for the most part, but it depends on what it is and what you're implementing. It can be oftentimes shorter than that. Sometimes it needs to be a little bit longer, but you can make it happen. If it's Parkinson's law, if you give them a whole bunch of time, they're going to take that whole time, when a lot of times it could be done in a quicker period of time, and you want to see results and get that return on investment right away. And then in the end, when everything's implemented, you want to celebrate the success. You want to make sure that they know that you appreciate the efforts and celebrate that. And then what you have is something that you've been wanting to do for a long time. It finally is implemented, and it's a great feeling for everybody involved. The more you do that you start out with one project, it starts to increase your momentum and your confidence in terms of being able to delegate to people in your practice, and you start to get projects checked off and done, which is a really great thing. So that's how you take some of these ideas and turn them into implementation. So I hope you found that helpful. If you have anything you want to talk about that's top of mind, reach out to me, Karol, Karol, at weightlosspracticebuilder.com. And I wish you much success in accomplishing those projects that in your gut will advance your practice, but you've been put on the back burner for one reason or another. Let's get those done. And I look forward to hearing some of your successes. Thanks so much, and have a great day. Take care.